Welcome to Battalion Wars 2 Multiplayer. I apologize for being a week late with this episode, but now we are going to take a look at the 16 multiplayer maps spread across 3 different gameplay modes, starting with Co-op, which unfortunately only has 4 maps. The other 2 modes have 6. But I'm okay with that. This is a rather low number of maps to have, but they're pretty good actually. It's more of a challenge since in co-op mode it's 2 players with 2 different battalions going against the AI. And in this particular map, the commanding officers for the players are Colonel Austin and Major Nelly from Battalion Wars 1. And the map itself is a remake of the 5th mission from Battalion Wars 1, which is where they previously fought, but now they're newlywed allies, and they're going to take down Kaiser Vlad because he just decided to appear again. All of the maps in multiplayer apparently have their own little plots and are based on historical battles in the case of, like, some of the Iron Legion ones. Anyhow, co-op is just like any other single-player campaign map, except there's a second player with his own battalion that you cannot take direct command of. Oftentimes, the game will give a particular kind of unit to one player and another kind of unit to another player, expecting both teams to work together, considering that they need each other due to what units have been given. In this case, I have the bazooka veterans and the Tundra player has the anti-air veterans, which are both very important because there are a couple of tanks and gunships guarding the first POW camp. Of course, both players get a tank in this mission if they free the POWs, so, well, it's not quite as... A light tank isn't quite the same as a bazooka veteran, of course, and you'll notice that the commanders, they can issue orders to the other player. Like, player 1 can give player 2 an order, or a request, rather, using the 1 and 2 buttons on the Wii Remote. Unfortunately, this is the only kind of communication the 2 players have with each other. Like, you can only ask for a particular target to be attacked, or you can ask for a particular unit to be protected or assisted or whatever. And you can confirm that you're going to follow up on that request by pushing the 2 button, even if you don't plan on following up on the request. Yeah, that'd be pretty mean to you, but fortunately nobody really uses this communications because it's a form of communication because it's so inefficient. It would have been just easier to have, like, an in-game chat, but I suppose Nintendo wouldn't want to do that because they don't want a Call of Duty situation where you've got, like 10-year-olds cursing at each other all the time. Anywho, this bridge right here is guarded by bazooka veterans, so you don't want to take the tank in there like I just did. Co-op mode battles are pretty, they're a fair challenge in my opinion. They pretty, well, if you just want to complete the level, you know, who even cares how many units you lose, but if you want an S rank, both players have to be working together and they have to work for that S rank, which is very good in my opinion, but as we'll see in 2 of the following co-op stages, you kind of need some degree of luck as well, especially if you want to clear the map without ever losing a unit, and some people challenge themselves to do that. So that heavy tank was guarding the second POW camp. It's just reinforcements, but freeing them triggers a squad of gunships. And I have to rely on the second player in order to have them destroyed, because I don't have any anti-air units. Don't tell me to use the assault veteran. Now we just have to take that HQ. And it's going to be pretty tricky because they have more bazooka veterans and multiple heavy tanks. Of course, when you do finally get that S rank, you and your partner feel very satisfied about it. Now we just have to make sure that our tanks don't smash into each other as we're trying to cross this bridge. Cross the bridge one at a time, people. Thank you. I'll just follow behind you, even though you've got less life than I do. Just a couple of grunts behind sandbags up this road. There are multiple entrances into the HQ. this back route here seems to be pretty efficient. You can take this heavy tank out pretty easily, since it's further away from you. If you go through in any other entrance, then it's going to be closer to you and you won't have as much time to react. Also be wary of gunships, of course. And something that you might notice, depending on how the connection is between you and your partner, there might be a bit of lag when you shoot at an enemy, and it takes a moment for the game to register the damage, but it's not too horrible. This is pretty good online compared to, say, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Oh yeah, and that air transport tries to fly in. I don't think he managed to get it in time, considering that I've lost a unit or two here. Oh, and I'm also keeping the voice acting off for all of co-op mode, for all of the multiplayer maps. That includes the cutscenes, because for this map in particular, Colonel Austin sounds like Bill Cosby, and I hate that about him. He didn't sound like Bill Cosby in Battalion Wars 1. I don't see why they needed to make it happen in this game. Anyhow, either player can capture the HQ in these following missions. I could have captured it too, but it only changes the cutscene so far as it makes the HQ green. Dialogue is also different depending on which side you're playing, Frontier or Tundra. So that's the end of the very obvious James Bond shout-out. Not really a difficult mission. You can see that we've got 100 speed and 100 power. You probably want to go fairly quickly if you want to get 100% speed, because 6 minutes is not a lot of time at all. On to the next mission. This one is also a remake of a previous level from Battalion Wars 1. Interestingly enough, the mission that this stage references was called Crack Squad internally, but it was renamed to Herman's Heroes, if I remember correctly. So that's a bit of interesting trivia. They're using the old level name for the remake. And you can tell that this is a very obvious remake too, because the dialogue is almost exactly the same aside from a few changes. The objectives are the same. You've got to destroy an ammo dump, a fuel refinery, and a radar array. The enemy is Commandant Ubel, and he's got Exylvanian recons. I don't think we've seen that in any of the other levels in the game, to be honest. It's strange that they would just have the Exylvanian recon, because this is the only level it's going to appear in. Well, actually, apparently they were also going to make a recon racing mode, which would have been hilariously fun, but too bad it didn't happen. So in this mission, you've got the Frontier with the Bazooka veterans and the Solar Empire with the Assault veterans. First up, you've got a bunch of grunts and acid gas veterans. They're fairly easy to handle, but you've got to watch those acid gas veterans. Get behind one and hit it with a close-range bazooka shot, and be wary of the recon as well, because it might run over your grunts. It's actually a fairly annoying enemy, these recons, so it makes me wonder why there weren't more of them. This is a pretty challenging map to get an S rank on. I had to attempt it multiple times. Of course, the third co-op level costed me more attempts, but we'll get to that later. You can take out this MG tower with a long-range bazooka shot, but you might want to focus on the, How did my shot not hit it? Did it hit the rock or something? Oh well. I recommend focusing on the tanks first, because, you know, they're the bigger threat and all. Assault veterans have seriously lost their ability to take down tanks. At least when you're controlling them. I don't know if the AI has some sort of secret trick. Speaking of assault veterans, there's assault veterans here, and there's going to be acid gas veterans. Admittedly, this part of the level could have been handled better. Oh, and that POW camp has anti-air veterans in it. For the Solar Empire. So you want to free those as quickly as possible and put them to work, because the gunships come in regardless of whether or not you free the POWs. This is not like the Battalion Wars 1 version of the level where the gunships flee as soon as the radar array is destroyed. Also, you have to destroy the radar array instead of capturing it, which I don't really have a problem with. The fuel refinery is a little bit interesting. If I were playing as the Solar Empire, I could show you a trick that they can do. Due to the Assault Veteran's rifle having an extremely long range, you can actually shoot out the fuel refinery from here. I'm going to do the same with the bazooka shot, but still, you had to capture it in the original version of the level, of course. Now, one thing about the Battalion Wars 1 version of this level is that it was fairly... oh, lots of carnage here. It was a fairly open level. You could actually take those objectives in any order you please, but now, because of the anti-air veterans being at that POW camp next to the radar array, you have to take the radar array first, because there are gunships in this level. And I don't really like that. I think it was a silly thing to do. You could have had a much more open level where you could have players deciding on where they wanted to go first. Or you could have also had a mission where it might be in your best interest to split up and work towards the objectives separately. And maybe you can do that, but almost nobody does. Because, you know, all of these levels are designed to have the players working together, which it would be a good thing. Although, I think it would have been interesting if the levels were also open enough that the players could decide to split up if that turns out to be more efficient. But enough of my rambling. We have light tanks now. And you know, don't get me wrong, I like this level. It's fairly challenging, and again, it does force the players to work together, which for a co-op mode is good. I just want things to be a little more open in my missions. I'm basically reiterating the same complaint as I have about the rest of the game. Every playthrough of the level is going to look exactly the same, aside from how skilled you were at it. The ammo dump is still the easiest objective to take. You can shoot it out from here, again, with the assault veteran, although that light tank is blocking it. These are fairly tight areas, so your bazooka veterans are at their best here. Although you might want to put the tank in front of them first, because that gate there gets clogged really easily. Commandant Ugal actually has a quote for if you decide to destroy the ammo dump before any other objective, which nobody hears because, again, they more or less force the order on the objectives. So with that out of the way, we just have to make it to the extraction point and activate the helipad, which we'll call in the transport copter. Again, something that wasn't there in the original version of the level, but if I keep comparing it to the original version, we're going to be here all night. Now we just have to wait for our tanks to make it to the gold star. This part of the level is actually a lot different from the original version. Yeah, this looks nothing like the original version. I'd say it looks a lot nicer, though. There are some MG towers up there. There are also gunships. And there are also light tanks, so... This is also an area where it's very easy to, like, just lose all of your, well, the Solar Empire player can very easily lose all of their anti-air veterans, and it's not completely over if that happens. You could still grandstand and capture the helipad. That would be pretty hard, though. No idea why they decided on flame veterans for the frontier in this level. They're still not a very good anti-infantry unit. And we just have to clean these guys out, and we're all done. There we go. And again, either player can activate that helipad. Oh, come on, say it, Uble, say it. demoted to the rank of boot polisher. Oh yeah, that is still a really good line. Still a really epic line. Of course, I S-ranked all 4 co-op maps, so we're going to see another S-rank here. It seems we missed a couple of units. Of course, we lost 16 infantry units. What did we miss? 2 ground vehicles. Oh well. An S is an S.